Oh, hey everyone.
Greeting, human.
So, welcome to the first episode of the Eye Opener. Here, I'll let you see me.
I am your guest, Tyler Olette.
Kyle is our guest today. And we're just going to be talking about his life in general. And we're going to be opening our eyes to his perspective in life and how he was being from.
Lowell, Massachusetts is where I was born, but I also stayed in Lawrence, Massachusetts. But I usually just kind of tell people I'm from Boston. It kind of makes things easier.
And we're also going to be painting. So, we're going to be learning about Tyler's life and how he's from Boston. And how he is just the guy he is and how he is my boyfriend. And all that good stuff. We're also going to be live on You Now. I gotta start. Oh, god dang. I gotta set up my broadcast again. Excuse this. I will be super fast, I promise.
We are currently experiencing technical difficulties.
We're
Please
always.
stand by.
We're always.
Let's Brush appreciates your continued support.
Thank you. Okay, here we go. So, yeah. There we go. Now we're live on freaking You Know. And I'm going to share this live with some people. Here we go. So Tyler, tell me what it was like being in Boston while I write this out.
Well,
and how old were you? Like, how long were you there?
Well, so I lived in, and as I said before, I kind of bounced around between Lowell, Massachusetts, and fucking Lawrence and Lowell, Massachusetts, two cities, kind of close together, not too far off from Boston. I didn't live in Boston, however, I did go there pretty often because I actually did have like doctor's appointments and stuff there because that was kind of like the mainer city, I guess, and for whatever reason. It might have also had something to do with like the kind of insurance I had, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, so that was really why, and so that's kind of also fuels the reason why I kind of just tell people I'm from Boston because it kind of makes it easier because people don't hear about Lowell or Lawrence or these small cities from Massachusetts,
Yeah.
So,
I knew I didn't know what it was. No offense, I just never heard of Lowell, Massachusetts.
But yeah, so I lived there pretty much until I was about like 13 or 14. It's foggy, I forget. But so at about that age, me and my parents and my two sisters moved out from Massachusetts and moved to Florida. And so officially, well, I've been down here anyway, going on about, I want to say, man, it's really foggy, but I want to estimate somewhere between 7 to 9 years now because I'm about 20. So, someone will do the math and correct me. Fuck it. So,
there'll always be someone here to correct you.
But yeah, so I was there for about that long.
Okay. When you were in Massachusetts, what was it? Oh, light difficulties. What fun. I'm actually going to turn this fan down because I feel like it might be bothering. Do that. I think that's way better. Okay. I'm sorry about the fan, guys. It's just kind of hot here. I'm from Florida. We're in Florida. Speaking of Florida, Tyler.
Good old Florida.
When you first moved to Florida, what was your first impression?
Oh, well, at first I had a somewhat positive outlook. Well, not really, because I was kind of just regretting moving, period,
Mhm.
because it meant, moving again, and I had already been kind of in that habit already for quite,
Yeah.
as far as I could remember.
Quite the decade.
Yeah. So I wasn't fancy on the idea of moving, yet again, and I was a young kid, so that kind of manifested in kind of childish ways. But yeah, for me, it meant leaving the only kind of friend that I had at the time, as well as like I knew this like establishment. I knew this like deli that literally was like 2 doors down.
Yeah.
And I like knew everyone
That was
inside,
George's,
and like
right?
yeah, George's Deli. And I believe it's in Lowell,
Shout out to
Massachusetts.
George's. I want to shout
Yeah,
out to
yeah.
George's.
Shout out to fucking
Yeah.
George's Deli. If I don't know if Louis will or anyone there will ever fucking see a live like on social media, but hey, if y'all do, hey, shout out to y'all then. But
Yeah. I remember
yeah,
you telling me stories about how they used to chill with you all the
yeah.
time.
So they were basically just a cool bunch of the staff of this family deli or whatever. And they were great. So I spent a lot of time there, and being 2 doors down, and I would like to get out of the house a lot as a kid, which kind of it was a habit that didn't really stick too long.
Yeah.
After that. But yeah, so I like taking around there, and then I had a close friend down the street as well. So I kind of had like my whole thing, and then moving was kind of like rocking my world, because it's like
Yeah.
so yeah, that's kind of the way that went. I forgot what your was.
My question was, how was it moving to Florida? How are your how did you feel?
So yeah, so you can imagine how I could feel like with that.
Loving Massachusetts.
Yeah. So I wasn't the fanciest on the idea, but I mean, I was still having somewhat of a positive outlook, having Disney World and everything and all that. So, but it's funny because it was looking like the weather was going to be nice as we were landing. Then we were actually getting to the Orlando airport, where the weather was actually kind of very like tropical stormy. So that was fun to like trudge through as we were
Welcome to
just getting there.
Florida.
Exactly, it was a beautiful like welcome. That it was
Transition.
wonderful. Yeah, it was wonderful. So um but so yeah, so we stayed at like an apartment complex for a little while. Stayed there for a few years. And then we eventually ended up moving closer to the city and all that. But but yeah, so moving to Florida, I mean, my first impression, the school, because that was pretty much like the main thing that was like focused on as soon as we got there, was like getting us into school. So
Yeah.
like while they focus on like getting like the stuff all unpacked and whatnot,
Yeah.
whatever. So but yeah, so feelings kind of got my optimism kind of started to fall, because being like a new like student in a school is already tough as it is.
Yeah.
And like I didn't really mesh well with like the Florida kid slang and all the cool things.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what was what, and I mainly stuck to myself anyway. So I was put off as whatever, weird, what have you.
Yeah,
So,
I get you.
it wasn't the
Why
best
were you
experience,
why were
but
you put off as weird, really?
huh?
Why do you think you were put off as weird?
Well, I did have, I feel like my disability has always kind of gone hand in hand with that. But I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily always that, or if it's just like my social awkwardness,
Okay.
at times. But
I think it's more of other people's social awkwardness toward your normalness. Like they just don't understand, and what kids don't understand, they criticize.
Yeah, exactly.
So or bully or like rip apart for some ungodly known reason.
Right. So that's pretty much how that went.
So with um Fudge and Iridia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So aniridia is the absentee of the iris.
Okay.
And so that is I believe it's sorry.
We have a disco going on because our
Yeah.
cat likes to try and mess the cord, and every time we move it, he
Oh yeah.
gets upset.
Very upset.
Continue. You don't have to talk about aniridia, but I was just wondering, like,
yeah.
wanted
So
it clarified,
it's a genetic condition, or it's a condition that passes down in the genes.
Okay.
So whatever the term for that would be.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I inherited that from my father, who inherited from his, and it's kind of that whole bit. So yeah. It comes with like certain uh. mm, So so because of the condition, I suppose
Okay.
it's more vulnerable to like other sorts of like things that can happen. Say like glaucoma and like other like type of conditions like
Oh
that.
yeah.
And so those can develop because of that condition. So at a young age, it was necessary to have surgeries on my eyes,
Oh, okay.
twice in both, to prevent stuff like that, to prevent like glaucoma and like early onsets of other things like that.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like a rare condition, I feel like, to have. Um, but yeah.
Okay. And like so with having aniridia and like your dad having it, how was that? Like, was your dad having it and you having it? And did like he try and like help you with it in any way?
Yeah, well, from the start, he always made sure that the school had some kind of like disability like program, or visual aid, kind of program or whatever, to make sure that I had the proper assistance that I might
Yeah.
need, because he knew that
I
I would
think he
have.
did that even if you didn't want it.
Yeah. So he definitely made sure that
Yeah.
those things were set in place, because he knew that that would be necessary. Um, but yeah, so I mean, he did teach me a lot. He didn't necessarily like really teach me anything really about like the condition itself, really. So much as just like how to live with it and how he's lived with it, and just like his life story and everything like that. So he used that as like a way to like transition, and like try to express how to deal with that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um, so he did assist me with stuff like like he was really good with the bus system himself. So he that was like one of his tools of the trade that he wanted to like pass. So I kind of picked that up as well, and kind of like figured out well, kind of just like adapted myself to figuring out how to use public transit as he did at the time. Um, and so yeah, so it was things like that. But usually school would give me the kind of like training for like crosswalks and everything, with being visually impaired and everything like that. Usually the school would handle all that kind of thing. Usually like for like a class period of time, I'd usually be like pulled away to like do like a different class for you know uh to basically adapt myself to the outside or whatever, with having whatever condition or disability.
Yeah.
So so that's how it was with that. And yeah, so my father really, that's as far as much, pretty much as that goes. As far as
Okay.
just trying to teach me as much as he could with having it himself.
Yeah.
As well as like stuff like sighted guide, and having a cane, and stuff like that. But I was
Yeah.
also in a lot of youth programs that also kind of focused on teaching that kind of thing as well. So it wasn't really super necessary for him to do much of it himself anyway. So
This is true. Um, like, how do you feel about like? So, real quick before I start continuing asking questions, since I forgot to do my disclaimer. Uh, disclaimer with these segments. These segments, I'm going to be asking questions, honest questions that I have, maybe other people have, and I just want to know the answers and get the perspective of everyone. And it's not to offend anyone. If I say anything that offends you, please. I am stupid, and this whole this whole series is just to learn and gain knowledge, to not be so ignorant / stupid to things. So with that, as well as I didn't want any fighting or arguing on this as well, because if you have an opinion, I'll happily examine that as well. This is just about different people's opinions and opening your eyes to everyone else's opinion, as well as your own. So, yeah. Now we can continue. So, uh, other than, your condition, like, I do want to get back on with it. I want to ask you a little bit more about it later on. I don't want it to be solely about, you know.
Yeah.
So, I want to know more about you. What are some things that you just love?
So growing up, a lot of passions I had. I was really good with reading. I could read really well, but I didn't really have a lot of material that really interested me throughout like my years.
Yeah.
So like I didn't really like I kept like the reading habit, but where I kind of picked it up instead of like novels and like literature and stuff like that. I kind of picked it up where I picked it up in video games really, where because I kind of got the habit from my mom and whatever who was really good on video games and everything.
Oh
and
yeah.
would always buy like whatever Nintendo console came out so she could play her Turok on the N64 or Paper Mario or whatever or as the years advanced they got the GameCube, the Wii, so on and so forth. And so that kind of influenced me a lot because that kids gorge on fucking video games, of course. It's bound. So that kind of stuck really well. So eventually, I went from consoles to eventually I got my hands on a personal computer, and eventually I went from from basically taking over my mom's to eventually getting my own, so that way my mom could have one again. And so that basically fueled me getting games like on Steam and stuff like that, and that kind of started more when I moved down to Florida, really. So yeah, so video games really stuck with me, and that's kind of where I made up for really not really reading much or doing much else or getting out really. So, but I mean, stuff that I like though. I
think
do.
a lot of people nowadays don't really go out, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think that's really abnormal.
I'm just more of an indoors person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do enjoy media. I do enjoy streamable services. I do enjoy the Netflix. I do enjoy the Hulu.
Who doesn't enjoy Netflix?
But yeah, I enjoy like thriller movies and stuff like that, and manga. Sorry, manga or whatever.
Whichever, manga.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna say it the correct way, but just so people don't get confused.
Manga.
But yeah, so stuff like that. Otaku type, I guess. I don't know.
Weeb. I'm just kidding.
Right.
I'm just kidding. But I mean, yeah, I am too. I love being a weeb and nerd. Whatever. I also think you're like kind of geek as well.
Yeah. I enjoy my
computers.
Star Trek
Like
yes, my computers.
you haven't even got into like your computer stuff.
Oh yeah, well, computers is one of my passions as well. Because I basically had my hands on them as well, so that kind of I emulated that to some point. But yeah, so that kind of stuck for that reason. And yeah, I mean, I just love technology as a whole, like in general. Technology is just like one of my passions. I love all the gadgets and shit that comes out, and all the AI robots that all the universities are working on and everything.
Yeah.
I love seeing all the shit that comes out, especially like the Boston Dynamics shit, like with the dog and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, shit like that is great to see. I don't really get to do like a lot of like hands-on like hardware like stuff with computers. I'm more of like software oriented really. Like there's not like a program I can't like get my head around.
Okay.
So I feel like that's definitely one of the things I at least excel in at least.
Love you too, Mama. I think you excel in it as well. Um, I see you excel in it. Like, do you think you'd ever like want to pursue a career in any kind of technology field? And if you did, what would you do?
I've really debated that because there's a lot of different fields I can go into with technology, and it really comes down to, do I want to do something on like the hardware end or the software end? And it's like, well, I'm already really good with software to some extent. I don't really know any programming languages. But I mean, like, I've kind of been trying to pick some up here and there with like the learning apps that are out on like the app stores and stuff
Okay.
like that. So, but I'm not really that great. So, but I feel like
I am not proficient.
Yeah. So, but I feel like I could definitely get better with software. But there's a part of me that also does feel like I'd love to get my hands on hardware. However, I'm kind of like pushed away from the idea because of my disability and everything.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of something that I've debated over, and something I'm going to consider in the future as I do probably go into a career in that.
I think you'd be good at it. I really think it's something you should pursue. Because I've seen you have the passion for it and drive to do it. And I know you will sit there for hours upon hours upon hours.
Oh yes, I could
to
definitely
do it.
be one of those coders who
For
sit there
sure.
for hours coding. I could do
Yeah.
that if I only knew how,
Oh my
and the
God.
tools to do so, and the funds to, you know.
Yes. Oh my gosh. But I still think you could do it. And like even without those funds, I think you should just find some like broken laptops or something. Summit. Are you really doing that? He literally just lifted up that window. Did you see him? Oh my God. I so wish I would have got that on freaking video. My cat just lifted the dang curtain up to look out the window. Oh my God. What the hell?
You're just high up.
But yeah. I think yeah, I think that career would suit you really well. Like, do you think Oh, here's a question. And I related. So I remember because for people who don't know, we've been together for 6 years. So, like, um, you kind of had a little lack of confidence when you were first starting to try and go for a job. So, why do you think that is? Do you think it's mostly because of your stuff, or?
Well, yeah, I feel like I had a big lack in confidence with finding work and everything. However, I didn't exactly finish high school, so I didn't have any kind of like diploma or anything, or any kind of GED, which I'm still trying to work on as I am working and everything. So to pay, for programs like that. But so that did factor in with finding work and everything. But I did feel as though another issue with finding work was on my resume, I was kind of bluntly honest with having my disability, but I felt that was appropriate.
That is appropriate, really.
Than trying to hide the fact and having them only find out later on. So but I felt like with that blunt, honestness though, kind of affected hiring managers who would view the resumes. I just felt that there would be some kind of prejudice, and I don't really know if that's for sure if there actually is, but that's just how I felt. So,
well, have you had prejudice experiences?
Well, I believe I've had a prejudice experience. However, I've only heard of. I've only had the experience necessarily through a third party, so it's kind of complicated. But there was an establishment that I'm obviously not going to go fucking name.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons.
Yes, we're not going to be naming any establishment.
But so an establishment decided to not bring me on because they just didn't want to have to handle the responsibility, I suppose, of having someone with a disability even though it was an establishment that claimed to be an equal opportunity
Oh, this is very
establishment.
true. Yeah,
You know?
I remember that.
So it's very interesting there. But so that's really the only experience prejudice that I've had really against that. But otherwise, I can't really say for certain if that's what it is,
Well,
or if
okay.
it,
What would you consider?
and it
Okay,
is
and I'm
hard to
sorry,
find
I'm gonna
words
bring
to
up
begin with. So
this. I'm gonna bring up this because I believe it was a prejudice experience. But what do you think it was? Because, and I know you're gonna know exactly what it is as soon as I just say it's on the bus with the one woman. Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, do you want me to say it or do you want you to say it?
That's a great story.
Because I feel like you should say it. I think you should say it.
So, okay. Well, so one day we were together on a date going to the local mall.
Yeah.
So, we had our day and everything like that. We, went back to the bus to get our ride home and everything like that. We waited at the stop, got on, everyone got off and, we boarded, found our seats and everything. Well, in the midst of doing this, of course, the darndest thing when, people like to leave their feet out in the aisle, perfectly ready to trip you up, real nice, yeah, you couldn't blame yourself for not paying attention. But it's kind of like a dick move for the person to even have the foot out in the aisle when they're already sitting.
I will say this: the woman was in the aisles in the bus. They were the aisles for people who it's the disabled aisles, right? That's what they're called.
No.
Or the seats. I don't know.
No, it's just like this.
Because I know usually you have to move them.
Well, no, it wasn't there. It was the seat next to the ones that can be used for like wheelchair access. But no,
because I thought she was on that seat because it was out this way and she had her foot out in the aisle.
No, she was in the seat behind that. And so she had her foot out in the aisle. And so we decided to sit behind her for.
No, I accidentally sat behind her because I went in the bus first, and then here you come, and she freaks out.
Yeah, because I trip over her foot that's just so nicely in the aisle. So obviously I trip on it, one, maybe not paying attention, but two, just, not really going to see it as well as someone else might. So, this, of course, triggers an encounter with her getting very angry for whatever reason and deciding to have an outburst in the middle of the bus about something I can't even remember.
I remember it very clearly. So, this woman was upset because she had a foot that was injured, and that's why she had it out in the aisle. The problem was Tyler did not see her foot, and that was the only problem, and he tripped over it. And I was literally sitting right behind this woman, and I heard him instantly say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and then come sit next to me because you get, no offense, you get quiet, you get kind of a little awkward because you get nervous, and I get that. Well, this woman proceeds to start screaming and going on and on and on about how he tripped over her foot, how he's so disrespectful, how he can't even look at her, and how he's like high as heck, high on something and all this stuff. And I kind of just didn't butt in until she decided to start pointing fingers in your face. Like, she started pointing her finger in your face.
Yeah.
And then I cut her off, and I put my hand in front of her finger, and I said, "Look, ma'am," I said, "he said sorry. I'm sorry for whatever happened." I said, "But this needs to stop, okay? We already apologized. It was an accident." And then she would not stop. She wanted to, it almost looked like to the point she was going to get aggressive. She did, and I felt it was my fault, but I felt it was a need to tell her that you had a sight problem. So I told her, and she did not believe us. She said, "No, he's high as hell, and he's lying to me. He's lying to me." And we've been together for 2 years at that point already, because we were living together.
Yeah,
and we were living on and off together at that point. And she's saying he's lying, so I made him pull out his. He has a card.
I have a Division of the Blind card that I got that I received when I went to the office to receive a monocle for visual aid, which is a tool that's used and just stuff like that. So I can also use the card with the local public transit as well, with the local bus pass as well, to be able to ride the buses for free, as like a advantage of the Vision of the Blind card. So I had that, and so I figured that was proof enough to say that I had a disability.
She literally wanted to grab the card out of my hand, and I told her, no, you can just look at it, because she really was ticking me off at that point, to be honest.
And I wasn't about to hand it over either.
Yeah, we didn't want to hand it over because we didn't want her yoinking it from us or anything. Like, I don't know. Do you see that as I guess she did apologize. Like, the sad thing is, she immediately apologized after the fact that she realized he actually had he actually had a sight problem, and that's what's made me sad about it. It was like, really, you wanted to do all this fuss, almost get in a fight with him, and then finally you get proved wrong, and now you're apologizing, and then she just sat there awkwardly the whole time. And I called my sister, and I was like, yeah, this happened. I want to stay on the phone with you because I don't want her to try and talk to us anymore. Because then she kept trying to be friendly with us and wanted to be like our friends. And I'm like, nah, I'm good.
I'm good at ignoring people.
I don't need no more friends. And he put headphones in, so I was just like, I'll just call my sister. But, yeah. Would you see that as a prejudice or not?
Well, not necessarily, because I guess remembering it now, I suppose she was more concerned about me being high as hell or not.
This is true.
So I don't really maybe necessarily feel like it was that, because once she immediately saw the card, she
as
kind of
much as like
decided to change her
ignorance,
mind.
probably.
Yeah, but it is just pure ignorance though, and
Yeah.
just stupidity.
Bullheadedness.
Really. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it really was. Like,
That's Florida for you.
it still blows my mind to this day. But yeah, like, with all that and everything, what do you think is something? I guess it's good that you don't really have too many experiences like that. Then, like,
Well, yeah. And that
it's
kind of fuels what makes me more of an indoors person to begin with.
Do you think you had more with as a kid, like with just people, with like kids who just didn't understand?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you had more like bad experiences probably with children who just didn't understand what was going on?
Yeah, that occurred a lot.
Yeah, or one of those.
Well, it was kind of just like an experience as a whole.
If you don't want to talk about it, we do not have to talk about it.
Well, I'm just going to talk about it really as an experience as a whole, because there are certain instances here or there, but some of them are kind of more personal. So I'm not going to really get into too much of it. But like an experience as a whole, children when they're younger definitely like point that out, like for sure, and that because they don't understand it, of course. So that's a stimulus that they're going to react to, and so that can vary depending on different kids. So no, I did have friends here there. Maybe it was never too many, but I mean, it was never, I was never, against everyone necessarily, but usually the majority was still like very like just negative about it as a whole, I guess. I don't know really how to explain it in a better way.
That's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's not all good. That's not good. But I mean, like, it's all good that you don't really know how to explain it. Like, that's fine. Like, stuff happens. But fine. How about this? Since we're talking about personal questions, how are some of your relationships?
Well,
just as a whole in general, like not even with stuff, but just as a whole in general, how are your relationships? Other than mwah.
Well, I mean, like, how do you meet? Like,
just do you have any relationship experiences you feel like talking about?
I mean, not well. Okay, so as a whole,
without naming names.
Well, I mean, as a whole, I mean, I had a few relationships here or there. I mean, none of them really lasted too long. Some of them were like longer than others, but I mean, again, there weren't really that many to begin with.
Okay.
So, but I mean, a lot of them weren't
Are they
the
more of like
best.
relationships that you didn't really consider relationships?
Yeah, well, not all. Yeah, exactly. Not all of them were really real full relationships because I was very young. So it's
Mhm.
like it's very hard to consider like relationships like with kids, you know.
Mhm.
So that's also something to consider. But but yeah, so my relationships really as a whole, I mean, they weren't all completely negative, but it's just they weren't always like the best thing. So it's kind of the whole reason of why I went from one to the next, and so
Yeah.
until I finally did decide to find the right one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Fine. How about what are some memorable moments in your life
Um,
that
memorable
you'd like to
moments.
recall and share with us?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll start from when I was younger. Some definitely memorable experiences was definitely amusement park. I know that's up in I believe it's maybe in New Hampshire or it might possibly be somewhere in Massachusetts. But it's Kennedy Lake Park. It's an amusement park up there, and it's pretty fun. It's not like the greatest thing ever. It's not.
Mhm.
It's not. It doesn't hold a candle to like Disney World or anything.
Oh yeah.
You know, but it's definitely nice. Like a nice little like amusement park. It's definitely
Okay.
like very northern, I guess. Um, but yeah, that's definitely like I definitely remember going there and having like really good times there and everything. And like I would go with like my family, and then I'd get to go with like on trips there here and there. So it'd be good. Um, Definitely, I went to Fenway Park once as well on a
Yeah.
trip with like a youth group as part of like a thing as well,
That's
and
cool.
I saw a game there. I wish I could remember the year or the game or anything, but I really don't, and I
Oh
really
my
regret it because
god.
I can't prove that I was there. But I went to Fenway once when I was younger. I might have been like 9 or 10, so I don't know. But
Oh my
but
god.
yeah, so that's I mean definitely Fenway is definitely memorable. I remember the fucking little green mascot guy.
Oh
So
my
yeah.
god. This little green mascot guy.
Well, he's a big green mascot, furry guy. I guess I don't know. Whatever.
Literally just like his name's Joey.
I don't fucking know.
I don't know his name. I'm sorry. His name's not Joey, but I'm just making a point.
John Doe. There we go. But
John
yeah,
Doe. There we go. It rhymes.
I'm a poet. You didn't even know it.
Oh great.
Oh, here we go. All right.
Jesus Christ.
So some more.
How about we start getting funny here?
Okay. So uh,
What?
I'm just trying to think. Uh, when I went down to Florida, well,
Mhm.
as I was saying before, actually, I was touching on George's Deli again. Definitely a very memorable experience there. Fucking love them. Awesome people. Awesome
Okay, how about
food.
that? What's some memories from Georgia's?
Well, I mean, as a kid, I would go to my friend's house a lot that I mentioned, lived like
Yeah.
down the street and kind of like around the corner from me.
Mhm.
It wasn't too far. It was probably like a block down or whatever. So, but yeah, so I'd go to his house a lot, and I'd stay there like real long because we'd play video games and shit
Mhm.
like that, and we were like amateur ghost hunters at one point, and just different shit because we were fucking kids, and
Mhm.
it was cool. But yeah, so I would go home from his house kind of late at some points, and so
Mhm.
as a kid, I was kind of like afraid of like the streets at like darker times,
Yeah.
and like especially like the really fast moving cars really close to the fucking sidewalk
Well, yeah,
and
because it's
everything,
Boston.
and yeah, and with like my sight and everything. So
Oh yeah.
but yeah, so I mean, I would get kind of scared sometimes, and George's Deli was again like 2 doors down from my house, so
Mhm.
it was kind of like a nice rest point where I could stop in if I was like too scared to keep going or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was kind of not like a nice like little
Comfort.
video game like side thing, on like survival
Yeah.
games.
That's cool.
For me there. So yeah, so it was full of good people. I liked everyone there. It was like a little family place that they ran, and it's real cool there.
That's cool. I really hope they're still open because I would love to go see
Oh
them as
yeah,
well.
it'd be great if they're still running the place, and I'd love to see if everyone is still there. It'd be great. But
It could be great.
oh yeah. But But yeah, so that's why they're kind of a memorable experience there. They have good food too. I fucking love their onion rings and fries and their shit. Their subs. It's great.
Oh my god.
I'm not trying to like advertise for George's Deli or anything. Like I'm just.
But George's Deli is the bomb.
Yeah, like for real, it's the bomb.com, my dude.
The bomb.com, my dude.
But yeah, so
This is true.
Disney World, you know, memorable.
Oh, what was your favorite stuff at Disney? Well, how about this? What was your first trip to Disney?
Well, my first trip
and your first thoughts.
Well, my first trip to Disney was down here, of course, and it was when I was living closer to downtown of Orlando. And so we would catch the bus from the bus station or whatever, and there was actually a route that would take us all the way there. It took a while, but you know, so yeah, so we went real early. We bought annual passes for it online. And eventually, you know, so we were going there to pick up the tickets and everything, and so it was our first time there basically. So we got the annual passes, and basically, you know, it allowed us to go to all the parks and all the things and all that, whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever fucking Mickey Mouse annual pass do, I don't know.
Whatever Mickey Mouse annual.
Yeah.
Snap.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, so my first day there, it was kind of an ordeal. You know, it was hot. It was Florida. Still wasn't really used to the weather, even though we were already down here for about 5 years or so. Still not used to the fucking hot ass weather at all. God. Not. It's just so hot. I hate Florida. Anyway,
I'm so sorry.
It was an ordeal. We were there in line waiting, you know, picking up the tickets and everything to get in, and you know the whole process of doing that. And we eventually, you know, found out what Disney is like. We found out firsthand what it's like to be a tourist at Disney. We experienced the hour-long lines. We ate the fucking
expensive
20. We drank the $20 water bottles. We ate the $60 small plates of food. You know, it was great. It was great.
Oh my god.
You know, it was wonderful. But so I think the most memorable thing though was probably Hollywood Studios there. Definitely my favorite two rides were like literally right next to each other. The Tower of Terror because I love Twilight Zone, love it, and then the Rock and Roller Coaster. I love Aerosmith. Yes, best. Love it. Not advertising Disney. Don't want to advertise Disney. Don't care to. But yeah, I like them.
God, you make me want to do a Disney painting, to be honest. I really want to do a Disney painting now, to be honest, and I might just switch. So I got this inspiration now that you're fucking talking about Disney, but continue.
But yeah, so I think
I know you were telling me about this, and I was so sad it closed because I really, 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 really wanted to go with you.
Oh yeah, Disney Quest is actually closed, and it's been closed for quite some time, I believe. But yeah, so I actually went there while it was still open. And I guess I could talk about it for a little while. Yes. So Disney Quest was in downtown Disney. It was, I believe, like a 3 to like 5-story building. I'm not sure. I believe it might have been like 4 stories. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So there was like 3 levels that it had for like the entertainment. So the ground level is where you would swipe your pass to get in and everything. I believe you had to pay for Disney Quest separately. Because you know getting into Disney, the downtown studios is free.
Okay.
So you'd have to pay to get into Disney Quest. And there was a certain amount.
Oh shoot! I can't even laptop charger popped out. I got it. Continue. Sorry.
And yeah, I can't remember for the life of me how much it was to get in, but so yeah, so the ground floor.
I think you said it was like. I think it was like $20.
Really? Okay.
I think I remember you telling me because we were trying to plan to go at some point.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, actually.
So yeah. So but anyway, so the ground floor anyway of it was interesting because it was only elevators and it was where you just swipe your pass and then there would be like a small little line with like a team member or whatever at the end of it who would allow you into an elevator, and then you would go up to the second floor. That would be the first floor of like the entertainment. Really.
Okay.
And so it was basically just like 3 floors, basically just filled with different themes and different games and activities, and There was certain like small rides that were inside the
Mhm.
building. There was
Okay.
like a roller coaster simulator like pod you would climb into,
Oh my
and it would
god.
jolt you all around and everything.
Oh really?
Yeah. And then there was like a Pirates of the Caribbean like little boat thing that you could board onto, and it'd be like a little like laser pointed thing for like video games, like a controller that looks like a gun
Yeah.
basically. That you'd like hold down the triggers or whatever, and you'd like shoot the stuff that's showing on the projector.
Uh-huh.
And the boat would like rock and stuff, and yeah, there's someone would like drive the boat, and it'd be like you need like so many players to be able to play, you know.
Okay.
And there'd be stuff like that. So yeah, so it was definitely interesting. And so there wasn't like a specific theme for each floor. It was just kind of like each floor had different themes, different stuff, and there was just like it was all jam packed together. And on like I believe it was like the third floor was kind of like a cafe area as well.
Okay.
And so that was good there. Kind of still typical Disney pricing there, but I had the iced coffee. Iced coffee was decent. Liked it, loved it, wanted it again, wanted their food, but it was too expensive. Didn't care. But that was Disney Quest.
Disney Quest seems so cool, and it had so many games I wanted to play. Like
It had
so
a Wreck-It
bad.
Ralph game. It had a bunch of Pac-Man stuff. It had
Dang. But yeah, like I know when I went to Disney, it was a pretty fun experience. It was just like a little scary for me when I went. But what was like uh let me think. 'Cause I had a question and I forgot it, and I'm so sorry. Um, oh, how about this? What was your favorite ride at Disney?
Oh, well, I kind of said that with Universal Studios.
Oh yeah, you did. I'm so sorry. Well, fine. Disney World, like the actual Magic Kingdom.
Oh, the actual okay. I think Space Mountain. I think
Real?
Space Mountain was fun.
Oh my God, you were crazy.
I love Space Mountain.
Space
It wasn't
Mountain.
that crazy, but I wish
Space
it would have
Mountain
been
gives me
crazier. But
nightmares.
it was decent.
Space Mountain is my nightmare. But it's cool you like it. It's dope you like it. Like I wish I wasn't so scared all the time. Whoa, 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 whoa. Sky pencil. Jesus. But yeah. Um, what? I know you're actually not really genuinely a big fan of Disney.
Not really.
Why is that?
I've just never really been big on Disney. Really, I have always been like kind of surrounded by it as a kid growing up and everything. And it just I don't know. I'm just a kid who's never really like adapted to the norm, really, and so I
Uh-huh.
just never really like fell in love with Disney. Like I watch Disney Channel for hours. Yeah, fuck it. I'll watch cartoons or whatever. Whatever
Yeah.
dumb movies came on. I didn't love it all. I had to change the channel eventually here and there. I mainly like Cartoon Network more than anything really.
Oh yeah, I was a big Cartoon Network junkie too.
While I was younger, I liked like Hanna Barbera and stuff like that, Yogi Bear, Jetsons, and all them. I loved them while they were still on, but I couldn't find them after a while. So
Well, yeah, because it's like Boomerang. I know, for me anyway, they wanted to charge. I heard they're free now, but I know at one point they were having you pay money for it, and I was really upset about it. I'm not even gonna lie. I
oh
was so
wow,
upset
that's
when they started
crazy.
doing that. I don't know if you had that same experience, but I love Boomerang.
Yeah, I love Boomerang too.
What do you think? Uh, what do you think is like? Oh, here we go. Video games. You're super into video games, right?
Yeah.
What are some of your most favorite video games?
Oh, well, video games. Man, it's really hard because I love so many. It's really difficult to really start anywhere. You'd really have to get more specific.
Okay. How about what is your what is your favorite video game?
Of all time.
Yeah, of all time.
Okay. That kind of narrows it down.
The best
um,
I can do.
yeah, that's that. Yeah, that's the best you can do. Um, It's so hard to say. Uh, because I'm really torn. Because I really love the Splinter Cell series, but I also really love the Metal Gear Solid series.
I feel like Metal Gear Solid is probably your favorite game, but then it's so hard because I also feel like Tom Clancy.
Well, because I've spent at least or more than 1,000 hours at least on Splinter Cell Blacklist alone. And I've also played Splinter Cell Conviction as well, and all the previous titles that come before them as well. And I've completed them all. And I love all the branching storylines of all of them and how they connect and everything. And I love the entire series. And it's the same thing with the Metal Gear franchise as well. So I'm just torn because I love both of them equally so much because I love the characters and I love the story and all of it. So it's just like I can't like pick one of them over the other. I just can't do them like that. So I'm just gonna say both.
Well,
Fuck it. I choose D, all of the above.
oh my god.
But yeah. So I've definitely spent a lot of time on those games. But I definitely like other stuff like Payday. I love like Steamwork games, you know.
Yeah.
I haven't played a lot of Fortress to be honest, or really like Gary's Mod, but I do like the games themselves. Um, love Dead by Daylight. That's a good game. It's kind of like a more of a horror multiplayer game that you play with your friends. It's really cool and creepy. Um, there's a whole bunch of games on Steam that are really interesting that I've gotten my hands on over time and that friends have shared with me. But so that list could go on and on and on. But yeah.
Okay. What game do you think you're best at, like playing wise?
Uh, I gotta say the Splinter Cell series.
Really?
I feel like I've been bad over the years, but I gotta say by now I gotta be pretty decent. Like it's like the multiplayer aspects of it and everything, especially not just the story. Like and I can't say that for a lot of games. Like I'm not good at like Call of Duty or anything really, so much as like with like the YouTube strategists and everything like that. I'm not really on that level, but so much as like I've gained like like I've actually played the games for like years on end because I love them so much. So I've kind of just like, you know,
Yeah.
just kind of like adapted to them and kind of just like advanced my skill like through them, basically in that way, like trained myself, via that resource, basically.
Yeah, I got you.
So, but yeah, so I gotta say I'm probably the best in that out of any games that I've probably played.
Okay. This is true. What is okay? Who is your favorite character in a video game and why?
Man.
Like as a character as a whole.
Uh,
You're welcome.
Uh, okay. Well, I gotta say, because I'm very much, when it comes to literature, I'm very much interested in like espionage, kind of literature like that, spies and stuff like that, that kind of thing. Stories about that, or fiction or nonfiction, like unreleased documents from the CIA and all that
Yeah.
kind of thing. I'm super into that. I'm just
Conspiracies.
yeah, well, I'm just like a big spy like geek. Like I just like love spy stuff. Like not really so much like your James Bond like variety, but I'm super like on board with the more cloak and dagger kind of thing. I love private investigator like stories and stuff like that as well, because I love also mystery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I definitely gotta say, oh man, lost my train of thought there.
Stuff happens. Why? No.
You asked me what I was. My favorite character, right? Um, man,
Drop my pencil and paint.
but I think I do gotta say I love Sam Fisher. from the Splinter Cell series, just because I love how his story branches from the first game all the way to the current title, and how it just like I don't man, kind of towards the end I don't really love how his character changed, because his voice actor went from the same one it had been for so many years, and then suddenly went to a different one in the last title. And we haven't heard anything about a newer one in like so long, and it's so heartbreaking. But
So sorry.
but I do love the character of Sam Fisher, just because he's an average person who went to military school, went to military. The NSA recruited him because they thought he was good. So he did that for so many years, whatever, blah blah blah. He trained really well. He basically blossomed, and he kept on going up and up and up or whatever. And eventually, they decided to recruit him into like a specialized unit for the NSA, and all this stuff, and it's like this whole branching, and it's the story, and I just like love all of it. I just eat it all up, uh, and so basically, it just follows him and like how his life goes while because he's still a person, and so he also has his daughter, that's growing up as he's doing all this, and he's a single father as well. It's not really explained. I don't recall what happens to the mother. I think she might have like died of cancer, possibly. I believe is the story. I can't really recall, so don't quote me. But yeah, so just like basically, in the games and stuff, hints about like how his daughter is doing and stuff like that, and like conversations between them while he's off on missions doing stuff, like the stuff that you're doing in the game.
Yeah.
And so it's cool stuff like that, like that you can follow through. Um, and so I just gotta say that I really like his character for that reason, because he's also very expressive as well, like the voice actor, and really gives the character like a lot of depth. And so it makes the series just so much greater, because it just like when a character like when a voice actor like really plays a character well, it kind of like makes the game better, kind of in a way. Uh, I think that's kind of obvious, but I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like it's just really good. Um, but yeah, so I just definitely gotta say, because he played him for so many years, and it's like this, it expands through so many games. I just feel like for that reason, he's got to be like one of my favorites. I definitely love like all of the Snake twins though throughout all the Metal Gear Solid series, but there's too many of them to fucking pick one, so I'm gonna go with Sam because he's one person and it has a nice story.
This is very true. Like, you know me, I don't know anything about those games, but it's cool to hear them and to hear like what you think about them and why you like them. And like, do you feel like you relate to any characters in any way?
Uh, well, I don't really relate to video game characters so much as like I don't really play them for that reason to really relate to them so much as like people could do that with like Life is Strange and like games of that type. But the kind of gamer I am really is I'm kind of more of a gamer who plays games in the genre of just wanting to play games to be games, to have an objective to do something,
Yeah.
So not really to like be self-expressive or anything, really. Just kind of like for entertainment, really, mostly.
All right, I got you. It's like your hobby.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. Do you feel like a lot of people are shocked to know like that you play a lot of video games with like your eyesight stuff?
Yeah, I feel like people are definitely thrown off by it when they first, find out, and if they realize that I have it, I feel like it kind of like throws them for a loop. Like, oh, how's that go for you then? And it's like, it goes better than you expect, a little better than you expect, not horrible, but
A lot of people just like assume you're fully like.
Yeah, well, I mean,
see.
people definitely expect that I'm going to be under par, but
oh my god!
Sometimes that expectation can be turned.
This is very true. Like, I don't know. I think like it's stupid to automatically assume someone can't see when they say like, "Oh, I have this eyesight problem." I don't know. Because there's like so many things that you can get. Like you told me about like with your past experiences in school, and how you used to join those programs where they be with other people who had a hard time with their eyesight, and how it was on always a different scale than yours. Am I right? Or
About what?
about how like when you would get like put off with uh, those programs who would bring you in with other people who had
Oh, I see.
eye seeing problems, and where it was always on a different scale than yours, and how you were telling me about that the
Oh,
other day.
right. Yeah. So I mean, so I was a part of some youth programs that did assist, visually impaired people and all kinds of, people who had disabilities. It was just like a wide ranging, facility, nonprofit organization that kind of catered to, those services and that kind of thing. And it was also, like in cooperation with other organizations as well. Um, so, they definitely provided a lot of stuff for a lot of different kinds of people. So I was part of like a youth program who would go out and do certain like activities or stuff like that that was appropriate for the age and everything like that. Um, but yeah, so I mean, there was definitely different people, and I'm just socially like awkward. I feel like as it is, so it was kind of just hard for me to blend myself in with that crowd to begin with. And I don't feel like that's at fault of the crowd itself. I just feel as though it was hard for me personally to really like connect with a lot of them. Some of them, of course, I did for some time. That I didn't really stay in touch with many of them very long, at least anyway. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was just a case of just I felt like I was out of place because I didn't feel like my condition was as 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 high on a scale as other people's conditions might be. I just felt like mine was more tame, maybe not as necessary to require anything really of that sort or
You
that
didn't feel
scale.
like you needed as much like help or
Yeah,
assistance.
so I was kind of just I felt out of place. So
Okay.
that's just kind of how that
Okay. And like with that experience, do you think it like actually helps people, or do you think it doesn't really?
I think it definitely does help a lot of people, and it definitely helped me and would have helped me more definitely. Um, but whereas I didn't really finish high school and everything like that, that was kind of one of the requirements of being in there to begin with. So once that was kind of a thing, I eventually wasn't going there anyway anymore. But so they definitely could have done a lot more. So it's no fault of theirs or anything like that at all. It was just I definitely just felt out of place there, and I felt that way a lot, like growing up, because I was always in one wherever I'd moved to or wherever I was. I was always part of one, so it was kind of just like a recurring thing in my life, and I kind of just decided like high school to opt out.
This is true. Do you think it was because of your experiences here in Florida?
I feel like they definitely helped fuel the decisions I made.
This is true. I am really sorry that you had such like a bad experience in Florida.
Well, I've had one good one.
Oh yeah, but other than that, um, what are some things you do like about Florida,
Well, I do.
or do you think have you learned to like anything about Florida?
Well, I mean, I've definitely learned, to. I mean, I've come to grow on it over time. Of course, I'm not
Yeah.
still entirely bitter about it. I've kind of adapted to the heat now and everything. Of course, but I'm still not entirely in love with it. Of course, um, but yeah. Uh, some things I'd say I think I'd like over time about it is I think I do um you know like the entertainment that's definitely around and like the events that go around and how like usually active the city usually is and everything like that, and I'm
Yeah.
usually like a city kind of person anyway, and I was usually near the city when I was originally around. um not at first, but of course, but after I moved, of course, closer to it, I definitely saw like a lot more going on, and so I definitely grew on that. I feel like I definitely liked like going around the
The
parks
city
and
life.
everything. Yeah. Um, so I definitely like that aspect of it at least.
Okay. Well, that's good to know that you did like at least a little bit of Florida. Like it's not all just
Yeah.
awful for you. Um, do you feel like there was a big difference with how you were treated in Massachusetts comparatively to here?
No, I wouldn't really say there is much of a difference, really.
Really?
Uh, I mean, the differences can really vary. I mean, some can be more than others, but I mean, as a whole, really, I mean, it's not that much of a different experience because people still react in the same kinds of ways, just differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just the names, the faces, and the words that change,
Yeah.
really, and so it's not always really that contrastically different, I guess.
Okay, I got you. Um, let's see. On the other itinerary. What? Hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna get into a topic that people might like. YouTube might take me off. I don't know, but I do want to get into it, and I do want to ask about it. Do you feel we are 420 friendly? If you know what that is, you know what it is. If you don't, you don't. That's what I'm gonna go by. That's how I'm gonna address it. So, with being 420 friendly, do you feel like it has helped in any way, or do you feel like you like not even helps with your eyesight? Like, like I don't mean like it's magically healing or anything, but I mean like what do you think your experiences with it?
Well, being 420 friendly, I definitely feel that it doesn't really help with the condition itself, really. Well, so much as it might like relax or like relieve pressure on my eyes, or maybe do something of that sort because it is kind
Gosh,
of
can you please stop?
it does kind of make you relax in that kind of way. I feel like, but I'm not really necessarily sure. But I mean, still, it doesn't really it doesn't really give it that much of a change still, even with it. So much as just it affects me in the normal ways it averagely would,
Okay.
which is still the benefit out of it.
Okay. Do you feel that not a lot of people with you don't really know a lot of people with NRD, right? You're
No,
saying that?
no, not others that aren't my family.
Okay. Do you think you'd want to?
Potentially,
Like,
if I could find it again.
because like the big reason why I wanted to talk to you honestly about all this stuff with your eyesight is mostly because it is a rare thing, and I feel like it would be nice to get more people out there with it, and like get more people who like feel like you, where it's like it's really rare, and you feel like you don't really know anyone and have anyone to talk to or relate to with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it would be beneficial for that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it would be good for you to be
yeah, for it to be like a conduit to connect with other people who have it. Yeah, if they are out there, using
Mhm.
online as a resource, right? That make the most sense, of course.
Do you have anything in particular that you would like to talk about?
Well, it is kind of late. I have been working and I am kind of tired.
Are you wanting to cut the interview?
Oh no, we can keep going as long as you
Okay.
have more questions.
Oh yeah, I have more questions. I just want to make sure like you're not getting bored or I'm not like frustrating you in any way.
Oh,
Okay, so let's see. You are what age?
I am 20.
You're 20. So with uh getting
Going
into
to be
drinking
21.
age, getting into drinking age. Oh, are you excited?
Oh, of course.
What
Who
are you
isn't?
What are you most excited about?
Drinking, of course. Buying and purchasing alcohol and cigarette accessories.
Oh my god, cigarette accessories. Good job there. It was no save. But okay. So what was it like with differences in school from Massachusetts in here?
Um, kind of hard to say. The uh, there weren't big differences really.
Mm-hmm.
Again, um, because really, well, like the way the kids, react and behave and were around and everything, kind of change, of course. But uh, it's kind of hard for me to pin down like specific differences that I can really give you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whereas I kind of had mostly the same experiences wherever I go because again I did really move around a lot. To be honest.
Okay. Alrighty. With moving around a lot, how do you think that affected you really? Like, how
Well,
did you feel about moving around a lot?
I really didn't feel positively about it, especially as when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because it definitely affected like my self esteem and everything
Mm-hmm.
like that. Um, and it affected like any friends that I would make. I'd have to move and I'd leave them and have to make more, and then
Yeah.
eventually those would get left behind, and the cycle repeats. So that kind of was frustrating to have to go through. Um, but I mean,
This is very true.
yeah, I mean that just influenced that a lot. Um, but yeah.
Okay. Hold on. I'm making sure the lives are still going. Okay, sorry, I've had pictures of Goofy up on my screen. But so with here we go. That's what I have gotten to yet. Okay, so I have some questions related to your dad. Are you okay talking about them?
Maybe not for this interview for tonight, just
Not
because
for
I
tonight.
think.
Okay. Well, what is something you feel comfortable talking about right
Throw something at me.
now? Oh my goodness. Well, how do you feel about the establishment you're working in right now? Without stating names, of course.
What about how I feel? Like,
Well, this is technically like your first job, real
yes,
job.
this is my
So
first.
how do you feel about that?
Um, like just how I feel working there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's generally like. I mean, it's a mixed experience, or it can be because it varies at times. I
Uh-huh.
mean, it can be positive and then it can be negative at other times.
Yeah.
It really just mostly depends. But I mean, I it's a job, and it does pay as much as I, regret to get up every morning. But hey, everyone's got to do
Every
something.
morning, my butt.
Well, every afternoon anyway.
Every evening.
Yeah, well, morning for me, but evening for other people. A few morning people. Ugh. Anyway. Uh, but yeah, so working there is, it's mostly, I suppose it's mostly positive. Um, you know, I work mostly in front of like the establishment. So I'm dealing with customers a lot generally, and like taking orders and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, but so yeah, so I mean that can be a mixed experience, working in customer service, of course. But it is definitely generally positive, I suppose.
Well, that's good to know then. Like, it's good to know like your first working experience was a good one. And like, what are some of your worst customer experiences?
Oh, I've had some of those. So when I was first starting working at this establishment, so this establishment is one that typically usually gets busy like around the weekends, and stuff like that when people are getting off of work, and usually like when weekends are starting up and stuff, and people are starting to do stuff. So people will order, or well, people will want to have this kind of thing. So I'm trying not to like make it obvious or anything, but it's this establishment that does a delivery service and a pickup service. Um, but yeah. So this business typically usually gets busy close to weekends, and so work in front of the house or the establishment can get kind of hectic. So one customer that I have had. Um, so I suppose I'll explain it in this way. So I'm working. It's an evening. It's kind of around 6 o'clock ish, and there's a rush. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of food being made, a lot of stuff getting prepared, a lot of stuff going in and out the door, a lot of customers coming in and out. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So here's me at the register, doing my darndest, kind of fresh, in the place, still trying to get my hands around the ropes and everything. So here comes this customer rushing through, whatever line or whatever, with a receipt in her hand, or not, actually no, not even a receipt. Just coming on up, yelling about some order that she's been waiting on for over an hour, or something or other, So I'm like, all right, well, let's figure out your situation. And she's just, no, and wants to just keep on going about, whatever she's upset about, and won't let me do nothing about it. So I'm like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? And so, eventually, other customers are, of course, waiting, and, this is going on for so long that, manager, of course, has to come around. And this lady just doesn't want to calm down. And this woman is very kind of older. Like, I kind of want to go on the line of maybe saying she's elderly. Like, I don't want to say, senile, but she's just very upset.
Oh, my God.
She's just very, very upset. And so, the manager's going to take her outside, she can't be in the building. She's just too loud. It's just too much, there's already too much going on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I did nothing wrong. I mean, I couldn't even get a word in edgewise. So, I couldn't feel bad about the experience. But, I mean, I got to say that's probably one of the worst customers I've had because I couldn't do nothing about it.
This is true. It sucks when you get customers like that who just don't stop.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, don't stop, won't stop, man. Like,
yeah,
for real. I've never really understood that.
Yeah.
Have you had any customers like address your eyesight?
Yes, multiple customers, and
Oh,
always in a
really?
very positive way.
Oh, for real? Do you mind telling us some?
Well, it's pretty basic, honestly, and I've gotten a lot of them, and it's been from ranging people. So I mean, most of it is just I of course I'm nearsighted with my condition, of course. So I can still see. I just I have very nearsighted vision. So I look at things up close, and of course so I do that kind of thing. And so of course when you do that, you people are prompted to ask do you have glasses? Which to which I promptly respond, no, my condition. With my condition, they wouldn't help me anyway. So, which kind of gets old and repetitive to repeat every time a customer walks in. So you kind of give up after a while, to be honest. So it kind of just gets annoying, and you kind of just start getting pissed off about it every time they comment on it. Well, at least when it's in a negative way, anyway. But it's a very rare occurrence when it is in a positive way when it's brought up. So that is to be said.
This is very true. Oh.
They can also range to be worse than that, of course, but that's just touching on it lightly.
Oh my God. A lot of stuff we touch on lightly. But with let me think.
Well, madam, I believe it is getting close to 2:25. I would like to cut it here so I may rest.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you for your lovely interview and your time.
Yes, thank you for your time. What are you talking about? This is my segment.
Thank you for
coming on.
Listeners of Blitz Brush listening to my nonsense babbling.
Thank you guys for watching so much. We all very much appreciate it. I'm going to come on probably tomorrow and work on these paintings more so you guys won't be left on hold. But good night. Love you guys. Thank you for all your support, and I hope you have a wonderful night. And please come back and tune in for episode 2 of The Eye Opener, coming out on, the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. On the 12th, Monday. Let me make sure. On Monday the 11th, excuse me. Monday the 11th. On Monday the 11th, there's going to be an interview with Lori Martin, my mother, and we're going to be talking about all her experiences and how it was in her childhood and how it was going through the presidencies. as well as some major life experiences and how she dealt with them and how she felt about them during those times. So I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I hope to see you more soon. Bye bye.